What's up, you Washington Football Maniacs? Today we have a new video. Today is going to be injury updates. We're going to talk about Terry McLaurin's injury and Chase Young. How does his injury past and injury present really affect his contract situation going forward? It's going to be quick and fast tonight. We know it's Friday night, so thank God it's Friday. So thank you guys for rocking with us on a Friday night. So let's get into it. Scary Terry had an issue with his toe. Per Ron Rivera, he is 50-50 to kind of playing it day by day, being a little cautious with the number one receiver, but considered day to day and really 50-50 with him performing or playing on week one. So, let's say Terry doesn't play. Do you think this receiving core is really going to be impacted, considering if you look at Arizona, they're kind of in a rebuild. They traded a linebacker. They just traded for a quarterback with Scott with Kyler Murray out. So do you think this receiving core could be good to go with Jahan Dotson being the number one option?
I think definitely they'll be good to go. Um, we're in a unique situation where we're really loaded at wide receiver. So Jahan Dotson coming in there, and this may actually give a really good opportunity for Diami Brown to get in some really good reps, as well as, of course, Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel is going to have a lot of playing time as well. So we're really deep at wide receiver, so I'm not too worried about that. If Of course, if McLaurin doesn't, if he can't be ready to go. Now, certainly you want Terry McLaurin to play because he's just going to make you even better. But you don't want to push it. Yes, it's Arizona. You don't want to take any team lightly because, guess what? It's a new season. We don't know everything that looks bad or good on paper doesn't ever seem to reflect that once the season starts. We can, all of us seem to cover all of these teams in preseason, and we're like, wow, you know what? On paper, this team is going to suck, and then they wind up being one of the best teams at the end of the season. So who knows what Arizona's really going to turn out to be like toward the end of the season. And even at the beginning of the season, they may start off hot. So who knows? But I think that Washington would be okay without Terry McLaurin. I think we got some deep weapons. I think it's just going to mean that the other guys are going to have to step up. They're going to have to, as Joe Gibbs would say, play their guts out and fight their guts out and see what we can get out of the other guys as far as production goes.
Yeah, I know that we're going to do a proper preview for week one against the Arizona Cardinals, but just looking at some of the transactions, I believe, a lot of sources around the league believe tanking's kind of a term they use in the NBA, but, they're looking forward to maybe quarterback Caleb Williams, next year coming out of USC. So, it's really going to be kind of inquisitive to see what the long-term future is for Kyler Murray in Arizona. But like you said, any given Sunday, you can win, any team can win or lose any Sunday. Don't take them lightly. Don't underrate them. Definitely try to play your hardest against them. But, I don't think that we're hurting a receiver right now. As far as, obviously you want Scary Terry out there. You want him to be your guy because he's our number one option as far as our receiving core. And he's, you want him out there. But if you can sit him a game, give him some rest, not aggravate his injury, because look, turf toe can linger, man. There's a long list of guys where, going from Justin Jefferson to a lot of guys within his organization who had to deal with turf toe, and a lot of receivers, I know Lavernius Coles had an issue with it.
Yeah, I was about to bring him up. Yes.
There you go. Pierre Gaston had an issue with it. I mean, there's a long list of guys who had it, and it lingers. I believe it was Curtis Samuel dealt with it his first year here, and that's why he was kind of unavailable. So it lingers. So give him a week, let him rest up. Really no reason to play in a preseason game because it's all second and third stringers anyway. So, he definitely needs as much rest as he can get. So I agree, man. I think that Jahan, the number one option, I think Chris Sim can definitely slide into number two. Or maybe, really looking at it, maybe he's best served in the slot, putting Diami Brown in the number two on the outside. There's a lot of variables to see because I think that the stock for Diami Brown this preseason has gone up. So, man, it'd be nice to see him get some starting snaps, man, and really see what he can do. Oh, absolutely. And see really how good the chemistry is with Sam Howell. So I think we both agree that, he needs to rest. And it's not a really big deal as far as the injury can linger. So give him some rest, give him a couple weeks, and then we'll kind of evaluate from there. So we're going into another injury. And this is a guy who sadly enough, has had some of his injury issues. Coming off an ACL injury, and now he has a neck stinger. And this is a report, and this is via Adam Schultz, and it says that Washington Commanders defensive end Chase Young was a slow burn in his recovery from ACL surgery after being cautious with the star. The Commanders are ramping up his workload to the point where he's starting to see meaningful snaps. But unfortunately, he suffered a stinger to his neck and has forced him on the sidelines. So they are being cautious with their young star. So again, looking at the injury history with Chase Young, they declined his fifth-year option. We all expected him to kind of show out, break out this year, really prove a lot of doubters wrong and earn another contract, whether from this organization or next. But a couple questions. How disheartening is this injury, and how much do you think that it will impact him going forward as far as his contract negotiations with the Washington Commanders?
Well, I mean, it has to be pretty disheartening that, you battle back from such a devastating injury that he suffered a couple of seasons ago, and took him all of last year just to get back on the field, and just to be probably shelved the player he was prior to that. And then this year, just really trying to tear it up, and to get right back to being 100% in form and ready to go. And then you get out into that first preseason game, and you suffer a stinger. That has to be a little disheartening and frustrating for Chase Young. But, at the same time, I think that he also has this mental toughness as well. And so I fully believe that he will be okay from all this. Mentally, yeah, it's tough, but I think that he's a tough guy mentally. I think that, he's a young guy, obviously, but I think that he can take it. I think he realizes, hey, you know what? This is just a little setback. This is not anything like having another ACL. Now, if he had tore another ACL in the right, or in the other leg, then yeah, then that would have been extremely disheartening. And at that point, you start to think maybe the NFL is not for me. But this is just one of those little nagging things that just it kind of happens, right? So um, I expect I expect this to not really interfere too much with Chase Young's comeback season. I think that he's going to be okay. I still think he's probably. I wouldn't expect him to come out and be the Chase Young of 2020 right at first, but we did see a little bit in that game against Cleveland. He did get to Deshaun Watson there, even though he didn't get him down. He's got that quickness back. He can get into the backfield. So I think that things are looking up for Chase Young. He does have to stay healthy though. And so this may be one of those things where just, Jack Del Rio is going to be cautious. He's going to continue to maybe just rotate him out a little bit more frequently than maybe what he had intended to do, at least at first, just to make sure that it's not going to be one of those things where Chase Young is going to be one of those guys that is just injury prone. And so I'm staying optimistic for Chase right now. I think he's going to be okay. Hopefully, he's going to be ready to go come week one. And if not, I mean, we do have a pretty stout defensive line, and we showed it last year that even without Chase Young, that defensive line can be dominating. So I expect that with or without Chase Young, that defensive line is going to be ready to go week one.
They often say that great minds think alike, and I totally agree with you. I think, really is not a big deal. I mean, neck stinger, you know, in hindsight, you coming off ACL injury, so neck stinger is really nothing serious to him. But I will say this, that you're starting to see him build up a lot of injuries over the years, man. And I often, in my opinion, I didn't think that we were going to be able to sign all four on the defensive line. They re-signed Jonathan Allen, they got Deron Payne out of the way, and really Montez Sweat looks like he's kind of taking the leap over Chase Young as the guy who could get the contract to stay here in DC. And obviously, you look at certain people like KJ Henry. Can he be a guy to be a potential replacement? There's several names, but I like Chase. I really do. Like you said, the speed is there. The athleticism is there. It's just you hate to see a guy so young deal with so many injuries. So yeah, is it something to be concerned about going forward? I don't think so, but I'm hoping that he can stay healthy this year, because look, the ball's in his court. This is a contract year. So, I do not believe they're going to be able to re-sign both. Because you're going to have to make some moves in all season, especially with defense. This old line is going to have to, seriously going to have to look at old line and make a couple moves. So I don't think they're going to be able to afford all four. Now they very well could. I'm not going to say afford, but because I think under the cap they could. But really, outside of him taking a hometown discount, how much money do you really want to devote to a guy who has a lot of potential? But again, is injury after injury. You don't see these injuries with Deron Payne or with, what I mean? It's just, and Jonathan Allen's had his histories too. But, like I said, I'm not too concerned. But again, you're starting to see every year, there's injuries that are connected to Chase Young. So, how it really compares to the contract negotiation. And I kind of mentioned, man, if I'm the organization, I'm looking at like, man, the injuries they're kind of a red flag to me. Because you know what I mean? Like he constantly has an injury connected to him. And it's just, to me, it's like, man, so young, coming off of ACL, I don't know, man. I really do think that Montez right now is the guy who has the edge in getting that second contract. So yeah, I'm with you. I like Chase, man. I really do. And I know that, debates are starting to come out. Should the Commanders have maybe picked Justin Herbert and not Chase Young? And it's easy to have these questions in the hindsight, right? But I think that they still made the best choice given the situation, because we didn't know. I mean, Justin Herbert coming out of Oregon, good prospect. We didn't know he was going to be that guy. You know what I mean? As far as what he's doing in LA with the Chargers. So, I mean, in hindsight, you could easily said, maybe we could have had a, franchise guy. So it's just one of those things, man, in history, anything, that it's easy to really judge in the hindsight. But Chase Young, local guy. He's in commercials in the area. He's got his commercial with Mercedes-Benz and Landover. So, he's got connections to the area, man. So I want to see him succeed. But look, injury history, man. Injuries linger. And when you are always connected to an injury, to me, those are red flags. And that really makes you think, is the organization willing to put significant money towards Chase going into the future? So I don't know. That's a question for you and for everybody. Really, comment below. I'm gonna ask you real quick, Greg. In hindsight, I know, but would you have still made that pick, or do you think that picking Justin Herbert in that situation would have been a better pick for the trajectory of this franchise?
Well, I mean, getting a franchise quarterback is not an easy thing to do. And it looks like, Justin Herbert is a franchise quarterback. Yeah, in hindsight, if I'd known back then, if anybody knew back then what they know now, certainly you would pick Justin Herbert, because, I mean, you got to have a franchise quarterback nowadays to win a Super Bowl. That's just, in this day and age, that is just how it is. It's back in the 80s and the early 90s when the Redskins won all of their Super Bowls, we didn't really have what you considered a franchise quarterback. Some would argue, but that was back when the running game was such a major part of football. And nowadays, it's a quarterback-driven league. You got to have a franchise quarterback. So I probably would have chosen the quarterback. That being said, we have gotten burnt so many times picking quarterbacks in the first round or just, high round draft picks that are quarterbacks that, it's like, I'm not picking the quarterback even if he was going to be the sure thing, just because we just suck at picking quarterbacks, it seems like. Honestly, the last quarterback that we drafted that turned out to be a really good quarterback for us, and we couldn't keep him, was Kirk Cousins, and we drafted him in what was the 4th round. And so that's what has me so giddy about Sam Howell, is the fact we drafted him in the 5th round, and a year before that, he was projected to be a 1st round quarterback. So, I would say, I would look at our situation now and say, we have a potential to have the best of both worlds, have our cake and eat it too. We can develop Sam Howell into a very solid quarterback. Dare I say, he could become a franchise quarterback. I mean, he seems to have those intangibles right now. And who knows? I mean, it's too early to tell, obviously. But, I mean, he's looked really good from what we've seen. And if he continues that trajectory, then who knows? I mean, the sky's the limit for him. And with Chase Young, yeah, obviously, if there's a lot of question marks, but if Chase Young can overcome injuries and become that Chase Young that we think that he can become, well, then, yeah, the question that you're asking is, can the organization afford to keep both bookends? Because you really do, you would like to have those bookends on that defensive line. Now, here's the other variable to put into this. For the last couple of decades, it's really been all about the money, right? I mean, teams or players don't come to this team because they feel like they can win a Super Bowl. I mean, let's just face the facts. They come because they think that they can get paid. Or if they get drafted here and they become really good, they're thinking, okay, this is my audition to go to a team that can win a Super Bowl. They're going to pay me. I'm going to win a Super Bowl ring and I'm going to get paid somewhere else. And that's kind of been how the story has been for players, ex-players or players that come here for a little bit. They either come in here to get paid or, they're playing here to see what they can get out of the franchise or they're going to get it somewhere else. But knowing that it's such a new era within this organization, there's such a big buzz going around this organization, and everybody seems high on what now could be an optimistic future, that there could be possibilities of now, since Snyder's gone, Super Bowls and championships. And if this team is a team that looks like is such an attractive franchise for players to want to come and play, then eventually you're going to start having players that are going to be like, you know what, I'm willing to take the hometown discount. I'm willing to take a little less if it means championships, because I want to win championships. I'm going to be rich one way or the other. I don't have to be the richest person that's ever played this position. I can be well off and blessed and still have championships, and that probably means more than anything else. So that could be the other variable that we start to look at as well, is does this franchise become so sought after for players to want to come and play, kind of like how New England was, that you would have players, even like Tom Brady, the man himself, who would take discounts and rework his own contract in order to keep staying with that franchise as long as he did, to continue churning out championships year in and year out. And so, if this team ever becomes, I won't say anything like that Patriot squad, but becomes a franchise that has that potential to always be in the mix, then it may become more of that. Maybe you can actually afford both of those players, because one of those players realizes, okay, I may not make as much staying here and playing in Washington, but I may have a better chance at winning a ring here than I will going somewhere else. And so that may ultimately factor into it as well. And hopefully that is a factor. We'll see. We'll see how things are. But I know some of that right now is just debatable and wishful thinking, and we just got to see how it goes. But maybe toward the end of the season that it does become a thought within all these contract negotiations. But I certainly hope it does become a problem at the end of the year, that suddenly you are looking at how am I going to sign both of these players, because that means that Chase Young had a really good season and Montez Sweat as well, and that you want to keep both of those guys. If it's at the end of the season and you're like, I don't think we have much of an issue with this, and that tells you all you need to know. It tells you, okay, Chase Young didn't live up to the hype.
Yeah, I agree that the leverage is all with the organization as far as his injury history, and whether so you very well could see them retain both of them, like you said, because with his injury history, they do have leverage. So it is going to be interesting to see how the season unfolds and really, if they re-sign him or not. So I would love to see him here. So before we roll out, man, I actually want to do a shout out to the new owner of the Washington Commanders. He actually is doing something with the Washington Nationals called a Capital Crossover, Diamonds and Gridiron. He is actually going to be throwing out the first pitch at the Washington Nationals versus the Atlanta Braves game Thursday, September 21st at 7:05. So, and then at the game, the Thursday night game between the Commanders versus the Chicago Bears, the Washington Nationals will be on the field. And so that is a good sign, man. You know, the fact that, you know, you didn't see stuff like that as far as the teams kind of coexisting and doing things together under the Snyder era. So now that Josh Harris comes in, you know, now he's doing stuff with the Washington Nationals. So it really solidifies himself as the guy in Washington, D.C. So I wanted to do a quick shout out to Josh Harris, man, because I'm a Nats fan too. So I'm definitely look forward to that. So we're going to get ready to roll out. We definitely appreciate everybody. Like I said, injuries happen, but, you know, there's still some light at the end of the tunnel for both of these players. So definitely look forward. Oh, and let me pull it up real quick because we have the final preseason game coming up for the Washington Commanders. I am actually pulling it up now, so bear with me. Because it is home against the I'm about to say Chicago, said Bears, the Cincinnati Bengals. So looking at the schedule going forward, this Saturday is the final preseason game for the Washington Commanders at home, 6:05 versus the Bengals. So definitely tune in for that because it's going to be second and third stringers, but there are some position battles to look at. And we're going to talk about it next episode, but you know, some stocks have risen and some stocks have actually dropped this preseason. So we're going to talk about that and more on the next episode. So before we roll, Greg, you got anything else you want to cover real quick, man?
That's it, man. You guys just make sure that you continue to watch these videos. Spread the word, man. I mean, we're having a lot of fun with this revamped channel here. Brandon and I are just enjoying bringing all this content to you guys and hoping that you're enjoying it as well. And if you are, make sure you continue to subscribe, watch these videos, hit that notification bell because we're always unpredictable as far as putting these videos out. So just make sure that you continue to support us. At some point, we hope to give back to you guys as well.
Absolutely. And like I said, the question here for everybody is, in hindsight, would you draft Justin Herbert or still draft Chase Young? Comment below. Let us know what you guys would do. If you put your GM hat on, definitely let us know. Like, subscribe. Again, like Greg said, hit the notification. I can't talk today. Notification button to let you know when videos pop out. And whatever you get your podcast, 5-star review is much appreciated. So again, everybody, hail to the Commanders and peace. Everybody have a good weekend.